I'm going to demonstrate the quick start process for onboarding a web application to be scanned by Venari. The goals are to help first-time users understand the features, basic UI layouts, and the types of findings, fingerprint information that a point-and-shoot dynamic scan can reveal. We'll show how to onboard the application with the minimum effort to get going, that gets us logged in, runs discovery and security testing, and at the end, we'll take a very brief look at the findings of the completed scan. Before we scan a website, we need to create a workspace that we can store all its data in, including its settings, information like the URLs for the sitemap, any findings or fingerprint information. It basically needs a home for the data. So we call that container or workspace an application, and you can create one using this button in the top right on the main screen. And you have to give it a name. In this case, we're going to pick DVWA, which is a pretty well-known demonstration website which shows common OWASP level web app vulnerabilities and lets you kind of practice capture the flag style on your hacking skills. You have to put a URL, which I will paste here, and because this is a very simple onboarding, we're going to assume that we can get in with just a username and password, so I'll type those here and I will click finish, and we'll be presented with a grid showing what artifacts are going to be created. Once we finish this wizard, I'm going to accept all the defaults and hit the button. And now we have created a new empty application with just some starter templates. A brief word about the website that we're going to test. This is called DVWA. It's known to be vulnerable, and we're going to kind of use the vulnerability information we expect to find to validate that the scan is working well as far as fuzzing and discovery is concerned, and we're also going to use this to prove that we're able to automatically log in. This site is very simple, it just takes a username and a password. So this is what we're going to scan with our authenticated exploit coming up. When we created the application, a number of settings that go by the name of templates were created. This grid shows all of them. I'm not going to go through them all in detail right now. They go in various categories from exploitation to simple discovery to things that validate findings, some burp integration, some specialized ones like force browsing and URL inspection. But for the scope of this video, to just explain how to get going quickly, we're going to do the simplest thing, which is choose authenticated exploit, which is going to log in and do both a site mapping or discovery using browsing and traffic techniques, and also it's going to do some inspection and fuzzing based analysis. So once you click that play button, the scanner will start up in the background. Pretty quickly you'll see a bunch of processing queues appear, and you'll see state changes propagating along these columns. What happens in the background is a headless Chromium browser kicks in and starts the login process, so you have to wait for that to complete. So we're going to watch this progress dialog for a moment, and when that completes, we're going to go over to this browser view and kind of validate that we actually did get logged in. So we're done with the login progress, which happened headlessly, so the browser was running in the background and not on the desktop. We're already starting to find some interesting vulnerabilities and information items, but let's take a quick look here and make sure that we actually got logged in. So if you look at this expander and you go through these nodes that say snapshot, what you can see is the progression through the web application from the login form to sending data to the text inputs to finally getting to the page we expect to that shows that we've got logged in. So if I go back to the dashboard now, we can see that the scan is in progress. There's various statistics that show up in the summary area, some browsing statistics up here, and in a moment we're going to kind of jump to the end and see what was found and fingerprinted and site mapped during the completed scan. So we'll skip ahead. But for now, just note that there are a lot of views which are a little bit out of scope for this video. There's a more detailed video that gives a full tour of the UI. Each subview and subpanel is discussed, including advanced configuration. But for now, once we've confirmed that we got logged in with that browser view, we feel pretty confident because we see the queues moving and we see results accumulating on the right that this scan is going pretty well. So we're going to skip ahead to the end and look at the results. Now that the scan is completed, we can take a look at the various parts of the UI that show site mapping, findings, information, things like that. So down in the lower right-hand corner is a summary panel. This is a flat list of all the findings with a kind of a count next to each category. If I scroll through it, you can see a good variety of OAuth's top 10 findings, some stuff about JavaScript frameworks, backup file exposure, etc. At the top, there's some more summary stats about browser actions, logouts, the number of in-scope URLs, things like that. If we go up to the browser tab, we can look at a tree of how the headless browser walked its way through the application, did a very detailed discovery in browser mode. There is a more traditional traffic view that shows you a map of the URLs that were discovered in the site. So a combination of HTTP traffic, requesting, and browsing is where Venari derives its discovery and kind of probing behavior from. The findings themselves are broken out in this tab and hierarchically shown by severity on the left. You can drill into any given finding. Let's just pick a cross-site scripting. I'm going to see what we find. Usually there's a screenshot. So there's the alert box that popped, proving that the script did run. In here you can see the traffic that went along with creating that vulnerability. You can see the outer HTML of the snapshot of the document. And in this view, there's a fingerprint tree just showing various bits of information that might be useful for penetration testing or gaining insight about how to do better testing on the site. So overall, this scan looks pretty good. We did get logged in. It ran for about 23 minutes. We found 103 findings, which is not unusual. This is a test site known to be vulnerable. It's for the purpose of demonstrating these kind of vulns. So that's a good-looking Venari scan. That was a simple onboarding using just username, password, and a start URL. And check out some of the other videos with more detailed walkthroughs of these individual views up here that I just kind of quickly bounced through, and advanced configuration, API scanning, source code static analysis scanning. There's a lot of features packed into this tool. Today we just showed how to simply create an application from scratch, do a DAST, old school page-based scan, and review the findings.